So how do we keep ourselves healthy at this time when we're all horribly anxious about what we can do for our loved ones and people we care about? The first thing I'd say is actually to tap into some of the research that's showing that people living with dementia, so my dad has frontotemporal lobe dementia, actually have less risk of getting viruses like the virus that's going around at the moment. That's generally because we feel that it's the cortisol reaction, which is our stress hormone, which actually makes us more vulnerable. And in dementia, depending on the type and depending on the scenario, because there's no context of worrying if you're going out and having contact with people, you don't have the same hormonal responses over a long period. So I'd say for me, my family, one of the things we're focusing in on is how do we try and reduce the stress reaction, because that puts an enormous strain on our mental well-being and on our physical well-being, and it actually has an implication for our ability to fight viruses. So I'd say if we can, understandably, we have to be cautious, but let's also try and reduce the stress reaction. Getting a good night's sleep is obviously tied into that, and anything that we can do, from the lavender milk to having a warm, nourished drink, to having something that's magnesium rich at night, so that's bananas, some nice nuts, also the classic soporific pasta, something that's starchy, can help us and our little ones unwind, or anyone that we're looking after. And actually not having too many sugary things that really sort of escalate the insulin response and make us feel a bit wired, and then alcohol. What's interesting with alcohol, of course, there's nothing wrong with the odd glass of wine to keep us relaxed, but also if you drink too much, it actually compromises your immune system because it interferes with your macrophages and your lymphocytes. So heavy drinking, constant drinking will compromise your immune system. So I'd say not drinking too much, trying to look at what you're eating, but not getting too anxious by it. Look at reducing the stress reaction, getting as much safe exercise as possible. And of course, eating a nourishing diet would be the few things I'd really tap into at the moment. So what should we be cooking at this time and drinking? Well, actually, I've got a really simple vegetable broth here that's keeping me warm because I've got a bit of a savoury kick at the moment. But I'd say that keeping well hydrated is really important. But obviously foods that are rich in antioxidants. Now, antioxidants are vitamin C, beta-carotene, flavonols, resveratrol, and they're found in our vegetables and fruits. Now, the good news from our supply side is that, yes, of course, fresh is fantastic, but frozen is also fantastic. So you can be stocking up on your frozen vegetables or making a simple pea soup with frozen vegetables. We've got recipes on the website, but also tinned foods. They use heat processing to actually preserve the food, and then they add extra vitamin C, which is the nutrient you tend to lose when you cook something, back to the tinning. So you could actually make something like a lovely stewed fruit made with some tinned peaches and some apple, and then you can just load up in the freezer with small compotes. So stewed fruit is really great using tinned and frozen vegetables and fruits. Of course, you can make a quick berry smoothie with some yogurt, and that can be a great way of getting some nutrients possibly into someone that you're worried about and they haven't got a great appetite. I'd also say that we need to get the proteins in there, because proteins are really important for our immune system. So that's your eggs, your fish, your chicken, seafood of any sort. It could be your tinned fish. So we've got some recipes on our website about things that you can do with tinned ingredients. But also the protein sources help keep our immune system strong, but also keep our blood sugar levels constant. So I'd say protein, vegetables, fruits, and some of the whole grains that can give us that slow release of carb, and that's the energy. And I'd just say that hydration is really important. It could be something that's a sweeter drink, but try and get it, if you're going to have a craving for something sweet, trying to get some protein in there as well. So that could be a smoothie, you put some yogurt in, or it could be a savoury soup. I've just got lots of broth, and that just tends to keep stomachs, when they're very anxious, can be not very good at digesting things that are cold. So warmth is really good at this time as well. So how can we look after our sick and elderly people at this time? I think that one of the things we can really do is start cooking and dropping off meals to each other in the community, but putting them in as really small portions, because when you're vulnerable and when you're just anxious about things, actually being overfaced with a big plate of food is going to put you off, and it means that they don't eat anything. So actually just having the confidence to freeze in small portions, could be in ramekins, individual portions of soup, and then putting things like tahini, nut butters in them so you can get some protein in there. Cooked is really good because actually when you're older and vulnerable, the gut really struggles with things that are very cold. And yes, some sort of appealing fresh fruit, if you've got a sore throat or you're feeling really feverish, can be very appetizing. Generally, the gut tolerates things that are warmer. So stocking up the freezer and then just putting them in easy to defrost containers so that someone isn't having to battle with a big meal and then feeling that they can't face it over the next few days. Something that's protein rich, so the meats that are really easy to digest, so it could be, if they're a meat eater, meats that are just cooked over hours in a slow cooker or in an Aga or on a really low rate within an oven, because if meats are casseroled over a long period of time, all the protein goes out into the juices. They're very easy to digest. I'd just say those lovely root casseroled tagines, lovely soups that have some protein in them would be a really good place to start. Stewed fruit, so again it could be using some tinned fruit as a base and then having apple pear, freezing them into small portions or putting them in Kilner jars, so all they need is something like a bit of thick Greek yogurt that can start to bring some antioxidants, some calcium, some protein, and also giving them some good, easy to digest fibres, which also help to keep our microbiome, which are good bacteria, alive in our gut.